Practice exam 3, part 4. We're halfway through part B, translations. We're up to question 13. So 13, 14, 15, no clue as to the form, unlike the other ones, unlike 10, 11, 12, which we just went through. So you have to figure out the form from the sentence, okay? And that's the first question you should answer. 13, God knows the future only if all actions are both in vain and fated to occur. Okay, so what's the major operator? God knows the future only if all actions are both in vain and fated to occur. So the main sentential operator here is only if, right? Which gets a hook. So remember, only if. So general form is A only if B is A hook B, right? That's different from A if B, which is I just said in part 3, is B hook A, right? So what follows the only if is the consequent, different from if. What follows if is the antecedent, left of the hook. What follows the only if goes to the right of the hook as the consequent. So God knows the future only if all actions are both in vain and fated to occur. So our major operator is a hook, right? And what we're going to have here is God knows the future, right? That's a sentence in itself. We can translate that. God knows the future only if. And here we'd have all actions are both in vain and fated to occur. Okay, so God knows the future. That is, as we've seen, KG. It's a singular statement predicating knows the future of the individual God. No variables, right? As the consequent, we have a categorical sentence. It is all actions are both in vain and fated to occur, right? You've got a complex predicate, right? So it's an A form. All actions are both in vain and fated to occur. A form, so it's like this. For all x, if x is an action, then two things are true. It's in vain, Vx, and fated to occur, Fx. Brackets to close that, and another one to close this, right? Not around the whole thing, because that's the major operator. Read this back. If God knows the future, then for all x, if x is an action, then x is vain and x is fated to occur. If God knows the future, then all actions are both in vain and fated to occur, which is the same as God knows the future only if all actions are both in vain and fated to occur. If God knows the future, then yes. Yes, those are equivalent. That's 13. Right. 14, not all things that are fated to occur are actions. Not all things that are fated to occur are actions. This is a negation. It's the negation of the categorical all things that are fated to occur are actions. Since it's the negation of this, for these ones, let's say not all, what I recommend doing is forgetting about the not. Just translate all things that are fated to occur are actions. Translate that, and then when you have that, shove a negation at the beginning, because that's what you're negating, right? The overall form should be negation. Last in the order of construction of this formula is the negation. Not all things are fated to occur, so forget about the not. I'm just going to have all things that are fated to occur are actions. Is just for all x, if x is fated to occur, then x is an action, right? So not all things that are fated to occur are actions. It's just as so, right? It's not the case that for all x, if x is fated to occur, x is an action. Of course, this is not the only correct answer. Anything that's logically equivalent to this. So, and of course, this is a not a, which is the same as an o. So, this is an x, fx, and not ax. This is some things which are fated to occur are not actions. some things that are fated to occur are not actions, which is the same as not all things that are fated to occur are actions. Okay, 15 is a tough one. There is something that can change the future unless there are no actions which are either not in vain or not fated to occur. Okay? First of all, what's the major operator? It's the unless. Okay? It's a truth functional combination of quantifier statements. Okay? So unless gets the unless is equivalent to if not. It's also equivalent to or, so you can replace this with a wedge, right? There is something that can change the future. Okay, that's just going to get. There is something that can change the future unless. And then the next part is the really hard bit. There are no actions which are either not in vain or not fated to occur. So what I'm going to do is say, like this. Translate that the second part, what follows the unless, right? Rephrase that, okay? You can translate it without rephrasing, but it becomes easier if you recognize that. There are no actions which are either not in vain or not fated to occur is just equivalent to all actions are in vain. All actions are either in vain or fated to occur. Yeah. All actions either are in vain or fated to occur. Okay? And the translation for that is going to be this. All actions are in vain or fated to occur. And in brackets, we're going to get vain or fated to occur. Right. So that's the translation of what in English follows the unless. Now, since unless gets translated to if not, right? So remember what follows the if is the antecedent of the hook, right? So the overall form is the hook. This is appearing as the antecedent, but with the negation in front, right? If not that, then God, there is something that can change the future. There is something that can change the future. So just, that part's easy. There exists an X. CX. It's an existential statement, right? So that's the overall translation. You could also, equivalent one is not. Instead of this, you can have not EX. AX and not DX or FX. So this is equivalent. This is what you get if you do it literally, right? So if you didn't translate what follows the unless, you have there are no actions which are either not in vain or not fated to occur. There are no actions, it's negated of an existential. That is not existent X, such that X is an action and it's not either vain or fated to occur. All right? But the first thing I did was recognize that not, that negation of a what? It's a not O, right? Because this is an overall O form, that's a dot, negated predicate. So that's a not O, same as an A. All actions are either in vain or fated to occur, right? That predicate has been subbed in the CQN translation, right? So that's an A form. This second not was the one from translating unless to if not, right? So that's the literal translation with the one negation for what follows the unless, right? There are no actions which are either not in vain or not fated to occur. This is a negation which comes from translating unless as if not, right? And of course, double negation, you can take them away by the rule of double negation, so that's also a correct answer, as so. Here, this is also just an XCX, right? Right, so they're equivalent. All right, that one's very hard. Okay, and the last one, 16 is symbols to English. So the form of that you should see is a disjunction, and it translates to either God doesn't know the future, right? So it's a disjunction, the left disjunct, this one here, you can see it. Where are we? 16 there. Okay, so it's the left disjunct is God doesn't know the future, right? Not K lowercase g. It's not the case that God knows the future. So the whole thing is either God doesn't know the future, or there are no actions not fated to occur. Right? Not exist in X, AX, and not FX. There are no actions that is not it's not existent. There are no actions which are not fated to occur. Another equivalent, correct formulation is either God doesn't know the future, or all actions are fated to occur. Okay, that's what we get from translating negated O to an I, to an A. Sorry, negated O to an A. There are no actions which are not fated to occur. Negated O. Negated O. That's equivalent to an A form. All actions are fated to occur. So the final answer, either God doesn't know the future, or there are no actions not fated to occur. Another equivalent correct answer. Either God doesn't know the future, or all actions are fated to occur.